another thing that people have. I hear this a lot lately. First Hashem tells Moshe, I'm going to, mock the Egyptians, and then you see Moshe and Yaron come to Paro, and they don't just tell him what Hashem said. Tell him a lot of other things. Says, so Hashem's God of the Hebrews, so said Hashem, the God of the Hebrews, until when you refuse to be humbled before me, send out my people and they may serve me. For if you refuse to send my people, behold, tomorrow I shall bring, a locust swarm into your border. I will cover the surface of the earth so that one will not be able to see the earth. Meaning that the locusts will cover everything. You're not going to be able to see anything. And it will consume the remaining residue that was left to you by the hail. Because the hail, with the fire, pretty much destroyed almost everything. So he said, whatever is left, the locusts are going to eat. You're going to have no food. There's going to be complete starvation, famine in all of Egypt. Not going to be anything, nothing. All the trees will be eaten. If you've ever seen, if you want to see, it's on YouTube. There's places around the world that they have these locust attacks. Locusts fly in huge millions and millions quantities. Mm-hmm. And when they arrive at a farm or at a town, they eat everything. They leave nothing. And it's videotaped. Today everybody's a cameraman because of the phones. So you can actually see some of these things. And you see 30 million locusts arrive. A day, 2 days, 3 days, they leave. Everything is destroyed. The entire farm is destroyed. It's mamash. Unbelievable. This is much worse over here, he's telling you. How do we know it's much worse? After the hail that destroyed everything, whatever was left, they're going to even eat this. And it says specifically, and it will consume all the trees that grow for you from the field. They will fill your houses, the houses of your servants, and the houses of all of Egypt, such as your fathers and your grandfathers have never seen from the day they came onto the earth until this day. And later on in this Parashat it says that when they came, it never happened before and never will happen again. That type of attack from locusts. But one thing I was trying to mention here is that you see Hashem gives Moshe Rabbeinu one sentence. He tells him, I'm going to mock Egypt. Moses gives Paro a whole Megillah of things. What, he created it? This is a very, very, simple thing, but for some reason people have a problem believing it today. This is a very clear proof of the Midrash. The Midrash is part of the oral Torah. There's two Torahs. There's the Rein Torah, which is this, the book that we read in the Beit Knesset, or the Chumash that we have in front of us, the Tanakh. That's the Rein Torah. And then there's the oral Torah. Oral Torah was transferred from mouth to mouth, from Moses all the way until today. At the beginning of Pirkei Avot, you could see a list of all the people that the Torah traveled from in every single generation. Literally has names of all the generations, from who was the Gedol Hador, where it traveled from father to son, from the Nevi'im, and so on. It's the beginning of Pirkei Avot. So now, the oral Torah has many parts. You have the Gemara, which is also called the Talmud. You have the Mishnah, which is part of the Gemara, technically. It comes before the Gemara. You have the Zohar, which part of the Zohar is Kabbalah. You have the Midrashim. Midrashim is the story behind the story. But for some reason you tell somebody, listen, it says this in the Torah. Where does it say that the locust ate the eyes of the Egyptians after they finished the food? After the locusts finished the food, they were looking for more. It was already ruined. They didn't have that much food. So what do? They start eating the eyes of the Egyptians. So you tell this to people. It's like, well, where does it say? Where does it say? I don't see it in the verse. That's the Midrash. That's the old Torah. That's what Rashi is. That's what Rabbi Akiva is. That's what all of these, Abarbanel, where you have Onkelos, Rambam. They put Midrashim. They explain to us the story behind the story. Easiest way to prove it is you see. obviously Hashem told Moshe a lot more than one thing, because Moshe here is saying several things. And Moshe is the most important prophet of all time. Nobody's going to be like Moshe. Moshe spoke to Hashem face to face. He spoke to him like you and I speaking to each other. He's a big tzaddik. It's one of the 13 principles of faith. Moshe Rabbeinu has several parts of the 13 principles of faith. You have to believe in Moshe. It's not you or me. It's Moshe Rabbeinu. So of course Moshe knows you're not allowed to add to Hashem's words. So how come it has 5 sentences versus 2 or 1? Because Hashem is not going to repeat the same thing and waste time and add more letters for no reason. Every letter, every sentence, every word, every paragraph in the Torah, every letter has a reason. Nothing is duplicated for no reason. So, of course, Hashem made sure that he told Moshe all the details, but there's no purpose to write him saying it and then Moshe saying it. He's just going to write it once. So this shows that obviously the conversation between Moshe and Hashem is much more than what's written here. And that's the Midrash. So when somebody tells, no, that's the Midrash. Midrash is Torah. It's not, Midrash. It's like Sipurei Savta. It's like, the stories of our grandparents to make us go to sleep when we're 3 years old. Midrash is part of the Torah. And for some reason, lately I've been hearing this in a few places. People go, no, it's a Midrash. Like, it doesn't matter. Midrash is part of the Torah. So now, Paro, his servants are breaking. They're pretty much saying, "No, Paro, how long will it be? A snare for us. Send out these men so that they serve Hashem, their God. Do you not know yet that Egypt is lost? I mean, Egypt has been destroyed. We went from the top. We lost pretty much almost all of our money. We have problems. We have barely any food." So Paro says, he calls back Moshe. And he says to them, who's going to serve Hashem? Who's going to the desert? Moshe says, everybody's going to the desert. So Paro is reading his face, like he's looking at Moshe's face, and he accuses him of lying. He goes, no, see, you're not going to come back. You guys are wicked. And he kicks them out. He says to him, look, the evil intent is opposite your faces. לא כן לכונה הגברים ועבדו את אדוני כי אותה אתם מבקשים ויגרש אותם מאת פני פרעה. So here we can learn something about somebody sometimes in the business world or just in the general world. Sometimes you meet people that they're always accusing everybody of doing something. They're always accusing this guy of stealing, this guy of cheating. They're accusing everybody of doing it. Usually that's a bad sign about them. Because usually the guilty think everyone else is out to get them. The people that are usually wicked usually accuse everybody else of being wicked.
What is accusing? Sorry.
accusing כאילו מאשימים את כולם. כאילו הוא חושב, הוא אומר, לא, זה גנב, זה גונב, זה יגנוב. אז זה באמת אומר שהוא באמת בעצמו גנב.
לשון הרע ורכילות.
חוץ מלשון הרע. אבל העניין פה שכאילו עם בן אדם שהוא כל הזמן חושד בכולם, הוא אומר, לא מאמין לו, זה שקרן, זה ככה, זה ככה. כאילו כל הזמן, כל הפועלים
אם יש מישהו שבא אמר לו בעבר, שמע, זה גנב ממני, זה שיקר אותי, זה עשה לי ככה.
different. זה אדם השני. זה אדם שיש לו מנטליות. A person that has a mentality that he naturally suspects everyone of being there out to get him. I used to know this guy. He used to work for me, actually. That always thought that we're out to get him somehow. The funny thing is, I did more for this guy than I probably did for any of my employees. Did things that, to help him out with things that weren't even related to work. But for some reason, he always thought that I have this master plan to fool him or do something against him or whatever it was. I don't know why, but again, later on I found out that, he wasn't exactly a tzaddik. But that's the nature of people that are. Actually, now that I think about it, I had more than one guy working for me like that. The other guy fired had like that. So, people that usually suspect everyone are usually guilty themselves, and that's what's happening with Paro over here. He's suspecting Moshe and Aaron of doing something wrong. In reality, it's his own inner instinct that's acting up, and it's because he is guilty himself. So, after the locusts come, they eat everything. Paro hurries up to make sure to call Moses and Aaron, and he says to them, I have sinned to Hashem your God and to you. And now please forgive my sin, just this time. Kilu, this like as if it's the only sin he ever made. Just this time. And entreat Hashem your God, and remove from me only this death. As mamash, these locusts are so difficult, they're destroying everything, that it feels like everyone's dying. People are getting their eyes eaten, all the food is being eaten. They're going to get to a point of having complete hunger here. Here, Paro acts as if he is doing tshuva, and he's not only apologizing to Hashem, but he's also apologizing for disrespecting Moshe. He says, I have sinned to Hashem your God and to you. In the past, when he pretended like he was sorry, he would say, I have sinned, your God was righteous, and me and my people were wicked. He only apologized to God, never respected Moshe. Here, finally, he's showing Moshe some respect. He's saying, I sinned against you. Just this time. Forgive my sin just this time. Like it's the only sin he ever made. So already you see that this is nonsense. Saying it's destroying my country. They're eating everything. Remove this death from me, because this is going to bring death. Now there were so many locusts. The Midrash says there were so many locusts that even the Egyptians that were killing them, they said, okay, they ate all the food, so what we're going to do is start eating locusts. Which, by the way, is not allowed in Judaism except for one type. This type was allowed. The Yemenites and I think some Moroccans actually to this day eat them. But there's not that many. You have to know. Only if you have an old tradition. You and I can't go to the store and eat locusts because we don't have that in our tradition. But they have in their tradition to know exactly which locust they're allowed to eat. It's not every locust. There's a certain type you're allowed to eat, which is many, many generations old, and to this day they eat it, especially the Ammonites.
How's the locust?
Locust, locust, איך הוא זה?
חגב.
חגב. לוקוס זה חגבים. הרבה.
לא דג לוקוס.
הרבה. לוקוס. הרבה. אז... So now... He's asking to... so they lost all the food. So the Egyptians they see so many, they start eating the what's it called? The grasshoppers. And it's, you know what, we could build our country with this. We have so many of them, we could sell them. So as soon as Paro comes to Moshe, Moshe goes to Hashem, prays to Hashem to remove it, and Hashem brings a powerful wind from the west, and pushes the locusts towards the Sea of Reeds, every single one of them. Now it says specifically, not a single locust remained within the entire border of Egypt. So what about the dead ones?
Not a single one.
No. The Midrash says that they started filling up buckets and buckets of dead bugs to sell. And they made the deal. And as soon as the Hashem made this wind, the live ones flew away, and the dead ones came back to life and flew away.
איזה מכה זו הייתה?
הרבה.
לא, מספר. 8.
Number 8. So the locust came back to life, resurrection of the dead, to make sure that the Egyptians don't benefit out of even selling them. Not eating them, not selling them, not nothing. So, but after this, Paro doesn't do tshuva, even though he said he will. The interesting thing about, I wrote here in a note, is that you see that even throughout this time that Hashem is performing all of these miracles, He's still using nature to make it look somewhat realistic. Meaning that when He brought the locusts, when He brought all these bugs from a different place to Egypt, He brought them using wind. It specifically says He brought a strong wind. And to get them away, He's using a strong wind to get them away. Now in reality, Hashem can just make them appear and disappear. One day they're here, next second they're not here. Why is He specifically saying that He's using the wind? Because this is still giving people the ability to have free choice. If they see that the locusts appear like magic, one day they're here, 2 seconds they're not here, then obviously it's obvious that it's an act of God. But if it came through the wind, then you can say, no, maybe it's nature. Maybe it's nature that did it, not God, even though God is nature. You know, Hashem, Elohim, and Hateva have the same gematria, have the same numerical value. Hateva is nature, and Elohim is Hashem. Which means that Hashem, Hateva, nature, is Hashem in disguise. It's being disguised. So, Hashem, even throughout these miraculous times, is still using nature to give us free choice. This is the problem with today, is that people have gone to the point where they still have this free choice, but unfortunately, they keep choosing the wrong thing. So you have unnatural events, like what's happening in Israel, where the terrorists shot 4,000 or 5,000 missiles at Eretz Yisrael into areas where there's a lot of people, and Baruch Hashem, nobody died. Everybody's like, no, see, it's because of the Iron Dome. It's because of the special weapons we have, and the special army we have, and the special protection we have from the IDF and the government, and all this shtuyot. They really believe that if you shot, one missile anywhere, hundreds of people die or get injured. 4,000 missiles, nothing. They still think it's the Iron Dome or the Red Dome or all this nonsense that they have. They really think their weapons are really what's helping them. That's the problem. So Hashem is making it look natural. He's making it look natural because He wants to give you the free choice. So even then, even during the times of Egypt, He still made it look natural by using wind.